Her name was Angela. She was 23 years old, full of life, and filled with dreams. She grew up in a quiet village called Riverhill, a place surrounded by trees, small houses, and the sound of birds singing every morning. Her parents were poor farmers, but they raised her with love, faith, and hope for a better future. Angela always dreamed of leaving the village and living in the city. She wanted more out of life. She believed that maybe one day God would send her someone who would change everything. And that day came. One Sunday morning, a young, handsome city pastor came to preach at the village church. His name was Pastor Daniel. He wore a neat suit, shiny shoes, and smiled like an angel. His voice was calm and powerful. The entire village loved him that day, but no one loved him more than Angela. After the service, Pastor Daniel asked to speak with her. He said God told him she was his wife. Everyone in the village rejoiced. Her parents cried tears of joy. A city pastor wanted their daughter. That was a miracle. Within 2 weeks, they were married. Angela packed her small bag, kissed her parents goodbye, and followed her new husband to the city. At first, everything looked perfect. Their house was big and beautiful. The church Pastor Daniel led was filled with rich people. Angela was dressed in fine clothes and taken everywhere like a queen. But slowly, things began to change. At night, Daniel would lock his study and stay there for hours. Sometimes she heard whispers, strange voices, chants, even screams. When she asked him about it, he would laugh and say he was praying. She believed him, at first. One day, an old woman who swept the church compound pulled Angela aside. "You're a good girl," the woman whispered, "but be careful. There is more going on here than you know." Angela was confused, but that same night she noticed something disturbing. Pastor Daniel had a box under the bed that he always kept locked. One day when he went out, she found the key hidden in his socks drawer. She opened the box. Inside were black candles, animal bones, strange symbols, and a blood-stained cloth. Angela's hands shook. Her heart beat fast. She threw everything back and locked the box again. That night, Angela couldn't sleep. When Pastor Daniel came to bed, she asked him about the box. He didn't get angry. He simply turned to her and said, "Since you've seen it, you now must become one of us." Angela's eyes filled with tears. "One of who?" she asked. He stood from the bed, opened his wardrobe, and brought out a black robe. He lit a candle and began to chant. Angela screamed and ran into the bathroom, locking the door behind her. He didn't chase her. He just laughed. The next morning, everything changed. The house felt colder. The people in the church looked at her with strange smiles. She no longer felt safe. She tried to call her parents, but her phone had no network. She wasn't even allowed to go out alone anymore. That evening, she found a hidden door in the church basement. She went down with a torchlight. What she saw made her fall to the ground. Dead animals, blood on the floor, names written on the wall, candles still burning, photos of church members, some crossed out, some with pins in them. And then she saw her photo. It was the largest one on the wall, and it had a knife through the heart. Angela ran out of the basement crying. She packed her bag and waited for night, but Pastor Daniel was already expecting it. He and 4 men in black robes stood at the gate chanting. She fell to her knees screaming. He walked up to her and whispered in her ear, "You can never leave. You are my sacrifice." That night she pretended to be weak. She faked sleep. At midnight, when the house was silent, she took the church cleaner's spare phone and ran. She ran for miles, no car, no bike, just fear and darkness. She finally reached the bus stop and begged a driver to take her back to Riverhill. The driver, seeing how broken she looked, agreed. When she got to her parents' house, she collapsed. Her mother cried. Her father knelt and prayed. The village pastor gathered men of God to pray for her. For 3 days, she was sick and couldn't speak. On the 4th day, she opened her eyes and whispered, "Help me. He's coming." That night, Pastor Daniel came. He walked into the village like nothing could stop him. He came with men in robes. They lit fires and chanted around Angela's house. But the villagers had prepared. The entire village gathered with candles, Bibles, and prayers. They surrounded the house, singing and praying. For hours, it was war between light and darkness. By morning, Daniel and his men were on the ground, unconscious. Police were called. They were arrested and taken away. Angela spent weeks recovering, but something had changed in her. She was no longer the quiet girl from River Hill. She had faced evil and survived it. She chose to stay in the village, helping the church and counseling other girls. She later met David, a quiet young man who worked with an NGO for rural education. They became friends, then more than friends. And one day he asked her, "Do you think you can love again?" Angela smiled with tears in her eyes. "Yes, but only in the light." Angela found peace again, but she would never forget the nightmare she escaped. She told her story to help other girls be careful, strong, and aware. Because sometimes even the people who call on God may serve someone else in the dark. And sometimes love is not enough. You need truth and courage.